The J. Michaels Show.
Welcome to another episode of The J. Michaels Show. Hey, before we get going, I'd like to take a moment to ask you to subscribe. We love it when you support the show. Subscribe, like, comment, wherever you're getting it, audio and video or just audio. Wherever you're at and you see the show or you hear the show, be sure to push that subscribe button, click on that like button. We appreciate it when you support the show. Okay, I have a wonderful guest for you this time around, and at the risk of pronouncing her name wrong, because that happens occasionally, I'm going to call her Lauren, and then you can hear her say her own last name. We'll do it that way. How about that? Lauren, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jay. Thanks for having me. And it's Lauren Minear.
Minear. Okay, I wasn't sure. I wanted to make sure I got it right.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Do you have situations where you have to explain your name to people?
I do. It's funny. It's my whole life. Minear is not my maiden name. It's my married name. Mm-hmm. My maiden name is Ezell, which is worse. Ooh. People cannot pronounce Ezell. Ezell. So I find it relatively easier. Like people ask me, but not as often as they did when I was Ezell. So. Wow.
Either way, it's a beautiful name, Ezell. Yeah, and I think I have heard of that as a first name also, Ezell.
Oh, really? I've never met anybody with Ezell as a first name. I would love to.
Yeah, the person that I'm thinking of is Mexican, and it's a first name in Mexico.
Got it.
I think. Don't hold me to that. You have some wonderful, wonderful music out there. I was going through several of your songs. Several albums also, Protect You, Boxing, Chasing Daylight, Invisible Woman. What was your first album?
So the first album that I released as an independent artist is Invisible Woman. Mm-hmm. I made a record years ago in Nashville that is on SoundCloud somewhere. But the first one that I put out on Spotify on all the DSPs is Invisible Woman, and I put that out in 2022. Mm-hmm. And since then, I have written 2 additional albums, so I've been busy.
Yeah, and what are the other 2 albums? I may have named them, but I want to get you to tell me.
Sure. Chasing Daylight came out in May of 2024. Mm-hmm. And Boxing Day is my newest project, and it's coming out on October 18th.
Oh,
of
okay.
This year. Mm-hmm.
So Boxing Day is a pre-order right now.
It is. It's a pre-order right now. Yes. Okay. And I've been working on it for since I put out Chasing Daylight, so the last 2 years.
Wow. So what how many cuts are on the album, and can you tell me about what's on there?
Sure. So I think it would help to give you a little bit of my backstory. I grew up in Nashville just because the 3 projects kind of weave together as a story. I grew up in Nashville, and I was so lucky to be surrounded by a lot of musicians, and mm-hmm. my English teacher was a songwriter and taught me how to write songs. And really, I fell in love with songwriting as a teenager, and my life circumstances took me away from music professionally. And then during the COVID pandemic, I really found myself, like a lot of creative people, sort of examining the way that I was spending my time, mm-hmm. And realized that I really, would regret it if I didn't return to writing songs. And so Invisible Woman is a song that is an album, an 11-track record that I put out about my experience of parenting during the pandemic. I had a newborn and a toddler during that time, and it was, I think everybody has their particular hardship from that time. Mine was that I was, sort of had to set my own career aspirations aside and was just parenting in isolation, which was tough.
Yeah.
So after I made that album, I was hooked, and I had a lot of time. I had taken time away, and so I felt like I had a lot to say. quickly. So I immediately started writing Chasing Daylight. And that is an album that I wrote while I was going through the process of deciding not to return to my day job for the time being and to do music full time. And I was, before the pandemic, working as a therapist. So I felt I felt sad and sort of guilty about not going back to that work, because particularly at a time like 2022, people were really needing mental health services. So Chasing Daylight is sort of this story of self-actualization and like finding healing through creativity, which mirrors my experience at the time. And then Boxing Day feels like my first album in some ways, because it's sort of like I wrote all these songs to get to this expression of Boxing Day. And it was inspired actually by, I had a negative experience professionally where someone was stealing money from me and like lying to me. And so I felt this really intense sense of betrayal. But from that, I started doing a lot of self-exploration around my own anger and my own codependency, and, you know, how I was allowing myself to be in situations with people who weren't trustworthy. And that's really kind of what I wrote the album about, is like taking a look at the things that I had never felt comfortable expressing as a younger person. And just like really telling the truth and confessing those truths, and through that, you know, growing as a person and hopefully helping other people as well see themselves in the work.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is your songwriting process? I mean, how do you sit down and start thinking about I'm gonna write a song about this, or how does it go?
So for me, I think and I don't know if it's like this for everybody, I have like more ideas than I have time for. So I have like a running document, you know, of like whenever I get an idea or a lyric or a concept or, you know, whatever it is, I sort of like put it down in this document. And then sometimes I will sort of be overcome by the song. You know, if I have like a real intense emotional experience, typically I will write my way out of it, kind of as a way of coping. So that's one way that I write songs. And then I think really to be able to do your best work, there's like a second part, for me at least, where I have to like be a little bit more structured and disciplined about it. And so I write an idea every day, whether or not I have one. And sometimes that means I'm like going through my old notes and picking something out and writing a song. Sometimes that means I've got something going on emotionally. And I think that the song kind of takes shape in a different way every time. Sometimes it's, you know, a concept. Really like writing conceptually. Boxing Day has a lot of songs that are written around like a metaphor or like a concept. Or it might just be, you know, like a rhyme that comes to mind, or a melody that comes to mind, or just like I'll be messing around with chord sequences and improvising over that. So it happens in a lot of different ways. And I think that one of the things you might not think of, or you might not know if you're not somebody who writes songs a lot, is that, well, at least in my opinion, you have to write a lot of bad songs to get to the gold.
Right.
So I never sit down and say like, this is going to be the best song I've ever written. Like I just sit down and say, I'm going to finish the song.
Right.
And probably the majority of them I never look at again. And typically I know if it's a good song, if I remember it and I find myself humming it, or if it, you know, like moves something in me and I, you know, feel like it needs to be in the world. Right. So a lot of writing that goes nowhere. Yeah.
How many instruments do you play?
I play guitar and piano. And I was very lucky to study piano at the Vanderbilt School of Music as a child. So my sort of musical theory and like foundation in music is definitely on piano. And then I started playing guitar as a teenager when I started writing songs. And so I really learned guitar as a tool to write songs rather than like learning, you know, I wasn't like I did all my scales on piano, but I wasn't doing scales on guitar. You know, I was really just like using it as a tool to express a song. So I'm very much a songwriter guitarist.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
when you're writing, you have the guitar there with you. Do you do you do it first on guitar? Do you do it first on piano, or how do you find it easier to write with either instrument?
it really depends on the idea and the day, or like, the challenge that I set out for myself.
Hmm.
I find that when it comes to writing melody, and really like challenging myself to make the melody better rather than just writing what comes to mind first, piano is really helpful to me.
Hmm.
And then like for writing sort of like groove and like rhythm, I rely more on guitar. So it depends on where I am, what I have available to me. Sometimes I write just like in a voice memo and then
Right.
go figure it out on an instrument later. But I think both and I think for me, at least as a writer, it's important to have different ways in,
Hmm.
because it keeps me from getting stuck. And, you know, it if I get stuck on a song, I switch instruments, or,
Right.
just, yeah. So as many different ways in as possible, it keeps me from getting
Which
in my head.
comes first for you, the lyrics or the music?
Again, it's really the same answer I have for you, which is like both and, or,
Uh-huh.
different every time. And I would say that melody and lyrics kind of come together for me, but in terms of writing the actual chord progression, I might like change it later. Like I might
Right.
write the song and then go back and change the chords later. And then I've also written songs where I just sat down and I was like, today I'm going to write a song with this chord progression
Hmm.
and write over that. So it's both. And I know some people have a more like structured process. I really try to keep it as like unpredictable as possible, because that's how I work best. Like the second I get kind of too in my head about it,
Hmm.
I I get stuck.
Yeah. So I mean, like you walk around with your phone and you come up with a hook or a line or something. You're like put it in the phone. That way you'll remember it later.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
Yeah.
just kind of standard, for
Yeah.
writing. So it
Mhm.
doesn't matter where you are. Well, tell me about "Protect You" and that song that you wrote. Where'd that come from?
So that "Protect You" is a song that I wrote. Like I think I told you a moment ago that sometimes I find myself like where a song kind of happens to me,
Hmm.
because I'm having an intense emotional experience, and a way to make it like a little less intense is to write a song about it. It's
Hmm.
like really therapy for myself.
Hmm.
And I wrote that song. I'm from Nashville, and there was a school shooting at a school 1 mile from my childhood home.
Oh.
And so, and not that school shootings aren't, I mean, they're always awful and like very
Hmm.
tragic. But for me, this one had more of a like sensory, like all of the news footage, like I recognized
Hmm.
the photos, like it
Right.
felt very close to home. Like I recognized it was like spring in Nashville, and like has a very beautiful spring. It's like the best season in Tennessee, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Cherry trees are blooming, and it was like this real, so it just like really hit me hard. And I found myself having to like talk to my children about it. And so I wrote "Protect You" the next morning, right after I dropped my kids off at school.
Hmm. Was it the
And
same school? Different school?
no, because I live in New York now, so
Oh
it was a
yeah.
different
Yeah.
different school, but it was more,
But you
I think,
recognize the location because of
yeah,
you were there. Yeah.
I
Sorry, I
do.
got that confused.
Oh no, no. But for me, it was that song is just about the feeling of, and the reason it's resonated with people is it's about that feeling of not being able to protect people that you love,
Right.
whether it's gun violence or many other difficult life experiences, or circumstances that anyone, that you, when you birth a kid, you
Right.
can't protect them from those things. So yeah, so I wrote that the next morning, and then I sent it to my producer Dan Weeks, who's actually in London. which is another story. I started working with him during the pandemic, and everybody was remote, so it didn't matter where we were, and then
Right.
we just had a good creative flow, and so we continued working together. But I sent it to him, and he really loved it, and I wasn't sure what to do with it because it didn't go on an album. I tend to write albums sort of like Chasing Daylight was about like recovery and moving toward light, and it didn't fit on that project. But then I had an opportunity to play a show in Nashville, and so I decided to release it and use it as a fundraiser for organizations that are working to end gun violence in America.
Wow.
Yeah, so I released it at a hometown show in Nashville, and some of those organizations who were made up of parents who had were parents at the school at the Covenant School came to the show, and Moms Demand Action came to the show, and it was it was great. And the proceeds of that song still donate in perpetuity. So if you stream it or if you buy the CD, the proceeds are donated quarterly.
Wow. Nice. That is so nice of you. Performances. Where's your favorite place to perform?
I think I have two. I really like playing in clubs, which I know some people don't. Oops, sorry, my phone is ringing. My husband travels for work a lot, and he is calling me and does not know that I am on this interview, so I apologize.
That's fine.
But I think there's two clubs I really like. One is the Bitter End in New York, in Manhattan, which is like a really legendary rock venue. Let me tell him that I'm on a call.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Decline on an interview. And the other is the Basement in Nashville. Have you ever been there?
No, I never have.
It's literally a basement, and like total hole in the wall, but they have really amazing sound. So you just I feel like I sound the best there. So I love it there. And it's always nice to play in Nashville.
Do you tour around the country?
I tour regionally, so I tour in the Northeast and Nashville. I'm actually coming to Texas for the first time in October. On October 3rd, I'm playing in Dallas at the Launch. It's called the Launch Music Festival and Conference. I'm doing a showcase there, and then
Houston also, right?
Launch.
I was thinking that you were doing Houston and Dallas, but I wasn't sure.
No, just Dallas for this round. But so right now I'm sort of in the process. I forget what it's called, a spiral. But I'm working. I'm trying to break into new markets. So one of them is Texas. One of them is Tennessee. And we'll see what 2026 has to offer.
Right. Do you know what time you're going to be playing in Dallas?
Sure. I'm at it's a showcase on October the 3rd at 11 p.m. at Westlake Brewing Company. But I'm the last artist, so there's other artists playing before me starting at 7. So, I would encourage anybody who comes to come and hear everybody. And it's free. The conference is, you have to buy a ticket for the whole conference, but what they've done to try to involve the community is they have a few events that are free and open to the public, and this is one of them. So
someone could come and see you. But what other major cities, places around the country are you also going to be?
So this year, I only have one show on my calendar for this year for the rest of 2025, and it's the album release show in New York City on October 18th. And because the reason for that is I'm focused on getting the album out, and then I will be once the album is out, then I'll be planning a tour in the spring and summer of 2026.
Will your album be CD, vinyl, or just digital?
So right now I have CDs and digital. I'm sure you know, like, think the streaming economy. You kind of, this is top secret information, actually.
Wow.
No one ever told anybody this. I have more songs. So the album is coming out in October, and then I have additional singles that I'm going to be releasing. And then I'm going to make vinyl once I have all the songs out. So I'll have vinyl available on the tour next spring, summer. But for now, I have CD and digital available on my website.
Yeah, I'm old school. I like CDs. I like having the tactile, the having something
I
in your
agree.
hands.
And it's really coming back. Like, I think that the move, the digitization of music has left a real opportunity for artists in a way. I mean, obviously there's downsides to it, but the consumer is really craving like physical products and really authentic writing in a way that is exciting to me.
Yeah. I notice you have a couple of guitars in the background there. Do you have a favorite, and what brand do you tend to like the most?
Sure. So, which one is that? I think my oldest favorite guitar is an Alvarez guitar that I've had since I was 16. It sounds terrible. Has like a crack in the wood. But I bought it with my own money when I was a teenager, and I love it. And now it's my travel guitar, which is why it's in that case, because I was just traveling and I don't like to take my nicer guitar instruments with me on the road.
Right.
Well, when I'm going on a family trip, right? Because you never know. I once took my nice guitar to Nashville with me, and which is an Epiphone, this one here, which is my favorite. And they made me gate check it, and I saw, like, with my own eyes, someone throw it, like, through the air.
That's painful just to think about.
Thankfully, I mean, I had like a good soft case with some like thing in there, but so I try to, unless I'm like taking a hard case and like checking it properly, I try not to travel with the nice instrument.
Do you ever travel with like a keyboard or something like that too?
I don't. I haven't. Well, that's a lie. I travel again, like, not for work, just when I'm with family or whatever. We were just in Europe, actually, because my husband is British, so we typically go and see his family in August. I travel with like a MIDI keyboard, which is just this big, because that way I can like make demos, while I'm on the road. But other than that, I don't travel with a keyboard.
Okay. I wanted you to talk a little bit about more about Chasing Daylight and the different cuts that are on there. And do you have a favorite track, or from any album you have? Do you have a favorite song that you like to perform?
So I think right now my favorite song from Chasing Daylight is actually on the deluxe version. So it's part of the extended album. It wasn't on the original release, and it's called Broken. And I actually, I post on Instagram most days. So if anyone is listening and wants to check it out on Instagram, I just did like an acoustic performance of Broken to commemorate the 1-year release of the song on September 6th. And the reason that's my favorite song from Chasing Daylight right now, I think, is because it was kind of a precursor to Boxing Day. And I had really settled into a sound as a writer. And so that's a song that came to me very, I literally wrote it on the floor with a guitar at Thanksgiving in Nashville at my mother's house. Just it's one that sort of just like lives in me and came to me. So I like performing songs that, I think those are my favorite songs to perform. The ones that just sort of like emerged on one instrument. And then on one side, and then I also really love Chasing Daylight, the title track on Chasing Daylight, because that was a successful co-write, which is a totally different sort of process for writing a song, where I brought an idea to my producer, Dan Weeks, and we really together like came up with the song and the sections, and it's just, it exists as something outside of me that would have never existed outside of that relationship between two people. Do you know what I mean? So that's another one of my favorites for a different reason.
Do you perform acoustic sets, just you and the guitar, or do you have backtracks you play with? That's part of the album.
I perform, I don't play with tracks right now. I perform solo. Sometimes I perform with like an acoustic duo or trio with two guitars and a cajon or two guitars and drums. And then I have a full band as well that I play in this. Most of my shows in New York City are with my band.
Yeah.
And then when I go to Nashville, I usually hire a local band there as well because it's easy to do there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, tell me about your band. What's the name of it and who's in it?
I guess we'll call it the Lauren Minear Band. So my one of my co-writers and producers, his name is Dan Barracuda, is my guitar player. And I met him, I've been playing with him for 4 or 5 years now, and we met during the pandemic as well. He produced some songs on Invisible Woman remotely, and then he lives in Brooklyn, so we've been able to collaborate in person since then. And he is an amazing guitar player. It's really his gift, and singer, so he sings backing vocals for me as well. And then on keys, most recently I've been working with Derek Dupuis, who's a New York City gigging musician, genius, Berkeley grad. My bass player is Ksenia Vasileva, who's a Russian woman who is also a Berkeley grad who lives in New York City and is like the coolest bass player. I have a funny story to tell about taking her to Nashville. She came to play in Nashville with me, and her
Tell the story. Yeah, tell the story.
Okay. Her professor from Berkeley is Victor Wooten, who is a kind of a very famous bass player. So I wasn't familiar with who he was because I am like more in the songwriter, like I'm more in the songwriting world, but for instrumentalists, he's like a celebrity.
Right.
And we were in rehearsal. I took her with me to Nashville for a show. And we were in rehearsal with some local Nashville musicians as well as my guitar player. And she said, well, can I invite my friend Victor? And I was like, sure, to come watch the rehearsal. And I asked Victor who? And she said, Victor Wooten. And my drummer and my guitarist were like, like, haha, like that's funny, And then in walked Victor Wooten, and they both like went like white.
Wow.
Like the drummer. Yeah, I mean, they were so starstruck by him. So that was amazing. She's a really talented female musician, which is it's tough to be a female musician. And but she's like, a total badass on the bass, and has the respect of people like Victor Wooten, who came to watch her rehearse. And so I really love working with her. And then on drums these days, I'm working with Devin Collins, who is another New York musician, plays on Broadway. A lot of the session players in New York City play on Broadway, whereas in Nashville, typically they just do band and session work. But the best ones in New York are in theater as well. So.
Wow. Okay, so you mentioned how she was starstruck. I'm just wondering, who do you get starstruck over, and who is your favorite singer-songwriter out there?
There's a couple ways I could answer that. I, particularly in the last few years, I have not always been a Taylor Swift fan because I think as a young woman who played guitar, it was kind of cool to not like Taylor Swift. Which I know is a problematic thing to say, but I think it's true. And I find that still, like, a lot of men in the music industry will sort of like make negative comments about her. But as I've grown into a woman who actually listened to her words and what she has made, and like listened to all the songs and watched her evolve as an artist, like I'm just really in awe of her songwriting and also her leadership and her artistry and like what she's done. I saw the Eras tour and was like completely blown away. So I look up to her a lot, Taylor Swift, and think she's a phenomenal writer and a genius. And then other female artists that I listen to a lot these days, I love Maddie Diaz. I hope I'm saying that right. Who's a songwriter out of Nashville. I love Natalie Hemby, who is she does have an artist project, but she is like one of the top songwriters in Nashville. And I always laugh that like when I hear a song I love by like a big artist, like Diane, like she's always on it. Like she's written with Lady Gaga. She's written a lot of songs that I love. Who else am I listening to? I recently started listening to Jade Bird, who I think lives in Nashville, singer-songwriter, indie artist. Yeah. And then I listen to everything. I don't only listen to singer-songwriters. Right now I'm listening to a lot of Imagine Dragons because my son, my 5-year-old, for unclear reasons, loves Imagine Dragons. And we're also listening to a lot of K-pop Demon Hunters. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No.
But
that's Japanese, right?
It's Korean. K-pop. But there's the #1 movie on Netflix right now is this movie, K-pop Demon Hunters, and the album, the soundtrack, the one of the songs on that album like went #1. And their group, their I don't know how you say it, like multiple writers, but they're these group projects, but they're really phenomenal pop songs, and my kids love them, so they're in my head whether or not I want them there. But they're like, if something's going to be stuck in my head, I'd rather it be that than.
Do you have a particular genre of music, country music, pop music, rock music that you prefer?
I love all genres, and I think that part of that is the way that I was raised on music. Like I grew up in Nashville, but my family is from Tennessee and Louisiana, so there was like a lot of soul music in my house, and my parents listened to a lot of different artists, lots of country for sure. I think that I grew up memorizing Garth Brooks and Brooks and Dunn, and that like story driven lyricism is like a part of me, but also just like really amazing female singers, and yeah, so I'm like a song person. Like if a song makes me want to listen to it on repeat, I am interested in that artist.
Everything that I've heard of yours sounds very pop-like. Would you do a country album?
That's a good question. Probably not.
Why
And the
not?
reason, I mean, never say never, but I would definitely do a more like a folk album. I mean, I can't say no. I can't say no.
Yeah.
I definitely have like pop leaning tendencies in terms of the way that I structure songs.
Yeah.
And like the way that I think about, I like the symmetry of like a pop arrangement. But like instrumentation wise, I'm very flexible. It kind of depends on like what is called for by the song.
Yeah. And well, you had mentioned Taylor Swift. She did country at one point. Beyonce has put out a country album. So it seems like we're narrowing, used to a rock artist was a rock artist and that was it. And a pop artist was a pop artist and that was it. And so now we're narrowing that a little bit. And people.
Well, I think that it speaks to something that I'm going to make a connection between therapy and music.
Sure.
But like there's, the idea of a diagnosis is kind of like the idea of genre, right? Like it's like a collection of characteristics that allow us to categorize something that someone is experiencing, but it doesn't necessarily like explain the essence of who they are. And my opinion is that genre is similar to that. It's kind of like a way to package music that is marketable, that makes sense to a broad range of people. And as the industry is further and further segmented, where people aren't listening to, like, there are people, I don't know if you read music news, but like, there's been all these headlines about how like there's no song of the summer this year, and it's because the industry is becoming so segmented, and people don't, they listen to who they love. And I think that allows artists more flex. I mean, Beyonce obviously is in a different stratosphere, but like allows artists to be more flexible in their artistic expression, because they're not having to meet sort of a business
Right.
goal.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense with the way that they produce their music.
Yeah. Well, when you get on a record label, they kind of own you, and they'll tell you we need a new album every 6 months, and they make more money actually off concerts and merchandise than they do off the music. Would you ever go to a record label, or do you prefer to be independent?
I would consider going to a record label for distribution, but it's very important to me that I own my masters, that I own my music. And I think that one of the reasons that I have entered the industry at this point in my life is that I do see the entrepreneurial opportunity of being an independent artist, which didn't exist 20 years ago.
Right.
And I like that challenge. I like being in control of my business, and I like the flexibility that comes with that. And, I'm a very collaborative, like it's not a no,
Right.
the right partner would be the right partner, but I'm certainly not out there every day, like trying to get signed. Because again, like my view on the industry is that, we may not really have stars in the future the way that we used to have,
Exactly.
because it's not necessary anymore. You don't have to sell, you don't have to be famous to make money, make a functioning business out of your music. And not that it's easy. It's not easy. It's never been easy, but I just think it looks really different. So I like the way that I'm doing things now, and I would absolutely like consider a partnership with the right partner, but it's not my number one goal by any.
Yeah. Do you have any song off one of your albums that you think would be a seasonal big hit? Maybe if people found out about it or whatever.
Maybe. So what I'll say first is I think I tend to write, well, I have so many different ways to answer this. Yes is the short answer.
Yeah.
I think I have a song called Nice Guy that could be in the right time or place, a hit. The song I'm putting out, I have a song coming out on Friday called Bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
Is not super marketable because it's explicit, but it's very, I think, of the time and like of the sentiment right now. And
I wanted to get into, I wanted you to tell me about Bullshit. Where did that song come from and what's it about? Tell me about it.
Yeah, so I was, I told you a little bit about the inspiration behind Boxing Day. I'll say again that I had this professional betrayal happen. And I think, I see it there. Part of being a therapist is seeing a therapist. I've been in therapy for a long time. I love it. Highly recommend. I'm very close to my therapist. And I was talking to her about this experience. And I think what I learned about myself is that I, as a woman, particularly a Southern woman, and sort of a people pleaser, personality wise, I have a hard time expressing anger, right? Because I either like hold it in, and I know a lot of people can relate to this. I either like hold it in and like say I'm fine when I'm not, or I like snap and like am mean. You know what I mean? Like I have a hard time just being like clear and assertive. It's not something I was really raised to do. And I come from, not just Tennessee, and I'm sure you can relate to this in Texas, like deep Louisiana, like Catholic Southern.
Oh yeah.
Culture. Like women are not, you're
like Southern Baptist. Yeah.
Not, like just your demure.
Right.
So that's valued. Like being sort of like physically attractive and demure is valued, which is, not many people are comfortable being that way for their entire life. I'm certainly not. So I was talking to my therapist about all these big feelings that I was having. And she kind of challenged me. She was like, a lot of your songs, because you're a therapist yourself, like they kind of like see both sides, which is true. A lot of my songs like will see both sides of a conflict, or like take a lot of personal responsibility. And she was like, I wonder what would happen if you just like wrote from your anger. And I wrote Bullshit the next morning. and it was one of those songs where it just like came to be, you know, it just like came from wherever. And so I feel that it's not specifically about this professional person, because he was kind of inconsequential, right? Like it's not about him, but it's about, I think that it's just, it's a song that I had in me for a long time. And like, it's feelings that were old and that were festering and needed to be named and said. And so what it's really about is, you know, standing up for yourself and not being a people pleaser, and not, you know, sacrifice, you know, self-abandoning to keep other people happy, which is what the entire album ultimately is about. Right. So it's a great song. I'm very excited for people to hear the whole thing.
Wow. And it's coming out when?
On Friday.
On Friday. Okay. Well, this show will drop on Friday, so it's simultaneous. It'll happen at the same time.
Great. So anybody watching the show can go and check out the song.
Yeah.
Got a music video coming probably a few weeks later that I filmed in my backyard in the woods with I have two friends who I made the music videos for Chasing Daylight with. And those videos are much bigger production. They like moved into my basement for a week, and we made 5 videos that go together as a short film. Very proud of them. They're amazing. But I didn't want to do like that scale of a production again. I just wanted to sort of like take on some of the editing myself for this project, so that I could really tell the story visually as it comes from me. And so we shot the music video for Bullshit in half a day in the woods behind my house, and it's very surprising, and striking, and I can't wait for people to see it.
Do you do the editing? It myself. You edit it yourself. That was the next question.
For this, I did. For Chasing Daylight, I did not. But for Boxing Day, I have taken on the editing myself. I have no business. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I found that it comes very naturally to me, because it's kind of like, it's just like telling the story visually. Do you know what I mean? Like it's transferable when you're a writer.
Sure.
And so it, for me, has been more efficient to do the editing myself, because it's just like, I just know what it should look like. And, you know, rather than having to communicate that to somebody, I've done it myself. So, you know, fingers crossed.
So you like do it with a selfie stick? You set up the camera and then you just stand in front of it, or how did you do it?
I didn't film it. I hired my friends. Case and Porter is an indie filmmaking team who did the music videos for Chasing Daylight. Directed, shot, and edited Chasing Daylight. For this, I hired them just to come and shoot the film.
Right.
So I wrote the script and did the set and all the styling, whatever, and I just hired them for the day to come and shoot it. So the film itself is on their high quality camera. It's like, you know, the materials are good. And then I have just edited it using Adobe Premiere.
And it's going to be, or is it on YouTube now? They can watch it.
But it's not on YouTube now. It'll be. I don't have the date. I need to confirm the date with my publicist, but it's going to probably be 2 weeks from Friday.
Oh, okay. So after the song itself drops, then
after
you have video.
Yeah, because I want, you want to keep it trickling out a little bit.
Yeah. You want to spoon feed it out there kind of slow. Yeah.
I've learned. I always want to share everything I'm making, and it's not digestible that way. You kind of have to do one piece at a time to help people.
Yeah. Okay. So you have Bullshit, which is coming out, but then you have Nice Guy. So let's just juxtapose those two and tell me about Nice Guy and that song.
Well, Nice Guy is not actually about a nice guy.
Huh?
It's the same energy. So Nice Guy, interestingly, Nice Guy is a song concept that I had in my notes from writing Chasing Daylight. And I was just like, that's a great idea for a song. And the hook was, I'd rather be lonely than fall in love with a nice guy. Yeah. And I came up with that hook literally reflecting on my past relationships, as far back as college, and people that I dated and shouldn't have dated and people that I didn't date but probably should have dated. And it was just one of those things. I was sort of mining my past, and I was like, that's a really good idea for a song. And it doesn't fit in what I'm writing right now. So I just like put it in my notes. And then one day I was talking to my younger sister, and she was having a dating experience that reminded me of this song idea. And so from that conversation, I sat down and wrote the song. It became, I thought I was writing a song about like my issues of not being able to be emotionally available. But in hindsight, I think it was also kind of like, it kind of fits in the Boxing Day vibe of like, you know, are people really what they seem? You know, like sometimes people who are nice are like problematic, right? Like, because they're not being real. Like nobody's nice all the time. And so that maybe so it sort of ended up being this like darker, sexier song that's like a little bit like has a double meaning, you know, has two sides to it. And it's out now. You can listen to it now.
Yeah, so it's kind of a authenticity. It's people who are authentic as opposed to people who are not.
Exactly. And so it ended up being a single I put out, and it's kind of like a segue to Boxing Day, because I think I wrote it in a time where I wasn't fully seeing things clearly with this professional relationship. And so in hindsight, it was like sometimes you write a song and you're like, in hindsight, like your song knew more than you did. Yeah.
Yeah. You have a music video, and gosh, the name of the song eludes me. You'll be able to tell me. But you're changing clothes in it. You go from cowgirl look to very demure. Do you do a lot of wardrobe changes for when you're performing?
So the song is Real Me.
Yeah.
And I don't do a lot of wardrobe changes during a performance, but I definitely what I wear on stage is very much a part of what I am performing. And I think that started with that song. So Real Me is a song about the fear of losing someone you love when you self-actualize, right? Like, because if you change, like, are you still going to be lovable to the person that fell in love with you before you grew, and I think for me, there was this metaphor when I was writing Chasing Daylight and at the same time, I was sort of becoming my artist self, right? Like I was sort of self-actualizing into an artist, and grappling with the idea with the fact that I hadn't done it sooner. And so I had this metaphor in my mind of like, you know, trying on selves and trying on clothes. And like, at the end of the day, you're the only one who knows if it doesn't fit right, you know?
Right.
You can wear a beautiful dress and everybody thinks you look great, but you can just not feel good in it. And no one knows that but you. And no one can do that but you. And so I began through making that music video and putting that album out, I sort of began creating characters around my songs. So if you notice, like even post Chasing Daylight, like Nice Guy has kind of a character and an outfit, and like there's definitely like a wardrobe for Boxing Day as well.
Yeah.
So that was a really fun video to make, because what we did is we took these characters from the previous videos that were all different versions of me, and like in the Real Me music video, like very literally went through the process of trying them all on and then landing on sort of the self-actualized dress, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a fun video.
Yeah. So are you the dress up kind all the time, or are you comfortable in sweats and a t-shirt?
I'm all or nothing. Like I most of the time wear no makeup and sweats. And I really like to be comfortable. And then if I'm getting dressed, I like want to get dressed. You know, I like want to enjoy doing. I want it to be like a creative thing. Right. So and that hasn't always been true for me. There's definitely a time when I was a younger woman where I felt like I needed to be dressed. I don't feel that anymore. Like I will go anywhere in my sweats. But when I do get dressed, I like to put a look together and do my makeup and enjoy that process.
Wow. Well, Lauren, this has been such a fun conversation talking to you, and I really feel like I've gotten to know you very well, through this interview. If someone wants to buy your music, do you have a website? Where would they find that?
I do, laurenmaniermusic.com. And from there, you can do all the things. You can find my Instagram, you can find my Facebook, you can sign up for my newsletter, you can buy my music, you can find videos. It's all sort of housed on my website.
Yeah, yeah. Well, definitely follow her on Instagram because all of her posts, sometimes it's songs, sometimes it's just her playing the acoustic guitar, or it was shot somewhere where she was performing live, and you really get a feel of who Lauren is. So definitely follow her on Instagram, and then check out that website too. And then also Bullshit comes out Friday, so you don't want to miss the release of that song, right?
You do not. It's a good one.
It's a really good one. Okay, Lauren, thank you so much for being my guest. We'll see you next time on The J. Michael Show.
Goodbye.